For the first step, simply apply the FW Brilliant Yellow ink over the entire model. Don't thin it and don't worry about applying it too thick. It will dry very evenly. Just be careful to catch any pooling in the recesses. For the next step, use thin down charcoal grey from Vallejo Game Colour. I thin this with water, 1 part water to 1 part paint, and very carefully apply it to all of the armour trim and anything that's going to get a metal colour later on. Over most of the black trim you just painted, add a very thin layer of heavy blue-grey, also from Vallejo Game Colour, this time focusing on the inside areas of the black, leaving some of the black showing on the edges. Cover all of the grey areas in neat Basilicanum grey from Citadel colour. Use it like you would a normal shade or a glaze. Apply Fuegan Orange from Citadel to the yellow armour anywhere where you'd like shadows or in any of the recesses. This will add additional definition for the next step. Using a really large brush, cover the entire model in Citadel Seraphim Sepia Shade. Don't let it pool too much, but cover the whole model anyway, and then wait for it to dry by hand. Don't use a hairdryer at this stage because it can completely mess up the shade. Using a very small brush, apply Vallejo model colour ice yellow to the very extreme points of the armour. I use the fingertips and the boots of the armour as a good example for this. Less is definitely more when using this colour. Use the same small brush to apply markings to the armour using Vallejo Game Colour Charcoal Grey. Again, Apply very small amounts of this as you don't want to completely cover the armour and markings, but it's a good way to hide any mistakes and to add additional detail to the model with very little effort. This step is completely optional, but what I did here was apply Vallejo Game Colour Fire Orange to the eye sockets. It's optional because we're going to cover over it in the next step with red ink, but it will add additional detail. For this step, paint over any of the charcoal grey areas that you want to be metal. I use Vallejo Model Air Gunmetal paint for this colour, as it's very thin and covers in one coat very well with a brush. Finally, add a very small amount of Vallejo Game Ink Red to the eye sockets. If you painted them originally in orange, it will add a little bit more depth. If not, you'll get a nice red eye socket anyway. And that's the Mark III Imperial Fist complete. Overall, the model took around 40 minutes to paint, with a hairdryer used to dry the steps between each layer.